What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the third installment into Legendary's MonsterVerse and overall sequel to the 2014 movie. This is directed by Michael Dougherty. Okay, let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. Overall, Godzilla, King of the Monsters is a vast, and I mean vast, improvement over that 2014 movie. Pretty much all the major criticisms I have towards that 2014 movie, which I overall still do like as an actual film, they were fixed with this movie. Now is Godzilla, King of the Monsters perfect? No, it has issues onto itself, but it gets the basics right. It gets the mechanics right. It overall knows what it is and doesn't try to be something else. The thing with Godzilla 2014 is that it tried to be more than a monster movie. Now, the problem with that is that Godzilla has been in the pop culture zeitgeist for so long that he's been presented as a monster that fights other monsters. And when you go to see a Godzilla movie, you want to see him wreck shit up and fight other monsters. Now, I appreciate what Gareth Edwards tried to do with 2014, which is take Godzilla mostly back to his origins by keeping him this like omniscient present. But the problem is that he didn't do it in a way that it should have been done. Like he clearly, when you watch 2014, there's clearly a lot of Spielbergian influences in that movie. But the problem is Gareth Edwards kind of leaned way too heavily into Spielberg, and he forgot that, hey, I'm making a Godzilla movie. I gotta show monsters fighting monsters. Not only that, I want to make sure the audience sees what's going on screen and not looking at blackness the entire time. Throw that out the window because King of the Monsters fixes all those problems. The cinematography in this movie is what the cinematography should have been in the 2014 movie. It's bright. It has color. I can actually see the monsters doing battle with one another. I can see the detail on every monster. Like the characters of Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla and King Ghidorah. They look pretty cool. They're nice modern updates of their Japanese counterparts, especially King Ghidorah, who comes across as fucking massive, and I mean massive. And I like how each individual head of Ghidorah has their own distinct personality. And I also like how they kept true to Ghidorah's origins, meaning that for a good chunk of the movie, he's known as Monster Zero, and no one really knows what his origin is. But when the movie deep dives into it, you find out that he's not of Earth. King Ghidorah is actually an alien, which is what he was in the original Toho series back in the day. So I like all that. They kept Ghidorah's origin, which is fine with me, and I like it. And of course, they kept to the legendary rivalry between Ghidorah and Godzilla, which I like as well. And of course, the fight scenes that Ghidorah and Godzilla have are grossly entertaining, and they just wreck shit up every 5 seconds, and it's great. I love it. I love seeing monster carnage. It's so much fun. I like Rodan. I like how we get to see a little bit of Rodan in this movie. That was pretty cool. We have Mothra, and I like how Mothra is presented as like the beauty of the monsters, the queen of the monsters, if you will. She's presented as like this peaceful monster and the movie does a good job of showcasing the beauty of the Mothra character. And you also get a little bit of that Mothra-Godzilla symbiotic relationship, which has always been present in Godzilla lore. No, the king and queen, they're always together. So I like all that stuff. I thought that stuff was really great, especially at the end of the movie, near the end of the movie, where Godzilla is pretty much, fighting a war all to himself. And then Mothra comes in to, pretty much help him out. I like all that stuff. I thought that was really well handled. I also like the introductions of some different and new monsters that this movie presents to us. Basically, after Godzilla is pretty much taken down by Ghidorah, he pretty much goes into a self-imposed isolation to recharge his batteries. And while that's going on, Ghidorah pretty much proclaims itself as the king of all the monsters. And that's when a lot of other monsters start to reveal themselves. And these are all newer monsters. They don't really have names, but you have this massive woolly mammoth type of thing. You got this big spider thing. You literally got a monster that was disguising itself as a series of mountains. So so I like seeing some new, different, and creative monsters in this universe. And I like how you mix that up with the classic ones, like with Rodan and Ghidorah and Mothra and Godzilla. It makes this world more expansive and makes you want to know the history about these other monsters now. I like all that stuff. As I mentioned before, the monster action in this movie, entertaining as shit. Ghidorah and Godzilla wrecking shit up is so much fun. Rodan being awakened and destroying a town in Mexico is also a lot of carnage, candy, and fun. The visual of this movie, the visual style of this movie, I love it. I think the cinematography is nice. It's really crisp and clear. Michael Dougherty is a very good director, and I like his visual. I like the visual style he brings to this film. It's much better than Gareth Edwards. And again, I don't want to shit on Gareth Edwards because I overall do like him as a filmmaker. I just don't think he was right for a Godzilla movie. I'm sorry. You need someone that can play into the whole monster carnage, and Michael Dougherty does that. Now, while the monster side of the stuff is all good, this movie's biggest flaw is the human characters. They're not that great. I mean, they're a vast improvement over the 2014 movie, but still, there's really nothing to them. You have this family played by Kyle Chandler, Vera Farmiga, and Millie Bobby Brown. They're pretty much the three lead protagonists, and we basically follow them. The character of Kyle Chandler, known as Mark Russell, he's struggling with the fact that his son was killed during the 2014 battle between the Mutos and Godzilla. So he pretty much has a personal vendetta against Godzilla. And once Godzilla is taken down, he kind of feels instant regret because now you have something that's much more powerful and much more devastating to the Earth that can wreck it in Ghidorah. So pretty much he has the character arc of, okay, you know what? I got my revenge, but I'm not satisfied because now because of my obsession with wanting to kill Godzilla, a greater evil now has the power to go unopposed. And I like how Mark tries to rectify himself by pretty much helping Serizawa and his crew pretty much get Godzilla back to full strength. And I kind of like it. The character of Mark does have a decent character arc. It's nothing all that fantastic. You've seen it 100 times before, but it's nice, it's decent, and Kyle Chandler's a good enough actor where I care enough about his character and what he's going through. You have Vera Farmiga, who plays the wife Emma. She pretty much comes across as somebody who's like an eco-terrorist sort of thing. She's joining forces with this character named Jonah, played by Charles Dance, who's completely underutilized in this movie. Their whole thing is to take the world back to its natural order, but because they meddled in things they don't understand, they open Pandora's box, and now their way of going back to the natural order is now complete and utter extinction. And of course, Emma, after being called out by her daughter, she has a change of heart where she realizes, oh, what I did was not good. How do I fix this? She's all right. I think the character of Emma in a lot of scenes comes across as gullibly naive, unlikable, and the movie tries to make you like her at the end, but I think you end up rooting for her demise, which is a shame because I like Vera Farmiga as an actress, I should say, and I thought her character of Emma was all right. Very sloppily written, in my opinion. And you got Millie Bobby Brown, who is Madison, the daughter of Emma and Mark. She's okay. She's not really memorable and all that. She's not really memorable at all. She's just there. So it's just a kid. So, it's just added drama. And then you have the supporting cast, who's very, very solid. You got Ken Watanabe returning as Dr. Serizawa. Ken Watanabe, I liked him in the 2014 movie. I like him in this movie. He actually has a lot more to do. And I really like the scene where he does a self-sacrifice in order for Godzilla to recoup his energy. I don't like the idea of killing Dr. Serizawa because he's the most interesting character in the Godzilla movies, especially the legendary movies, since you killed off Bryan Cranston in the first movie. I don't like the idea of killing off Serizawa. In this movie, I would have kept him. That's just me personally. But I like Ken Watanabe. I like him as Serizawa. I like the interactions he has with a lot of his team. Serizawa gets to show off a little bit of a snarky sense of humor, which I thought was really nice, especially when he's sharing scenes with his workers like Bradley Whitford and Julia Bosch. He gets some nice friendly banter with those two. He also has a nice banter with Mark also. And, of course, they have conflicting ideologies. Mark wants to kill Godzilla, while Serizawa does not want to kill Godzilla. So you get some of that here and there. So that's fine. And like I said, and Serizawa's crew, they have some memorable moments to themselves as well. Nothing all that spectacular, but nothing that you can roll your eyes at. It was decent for what it was. And then, of course, you have the generic army. You have O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son. He's fine, doesn't really do much. He's just a nameless character you're going to forget. Aisha Hines plays the Army General. She does nothing of note. David Strahan returns in a glorified cameo as Stans from the first movie. You could have beefed up his role some more. He has a connection with Serizawa and with Godzilla. He could have easily been a co-general with Aisha Hines and actually do something instead of doing nothing. So yeah, like the human characters in this movie, again, when it comes to the MonsterVerse, the human characters are the most like paint by numbers. They're not the most important parts of the movies, but they have enough likability where you can like, you know, where you can forgive their lack of development or just face value development, and you can enjoy them for what it is. You know, it is because at the end of the day, we're not going to Godzilla to watch humans interact with each other. We're going to see Godzilla to wreck shit up, and that's what this movie does. It delivers with Godzilla wrecking shit up. And unlike the 2014 movie, where it takes an hour for Godzilla to start wrecking shit up, this movie within like 40, like I'll say this, the first half hour of this movie is relatively slow, and it's just a lot of just setup. But once you get to Antarctica and King Ghidorah gets awakened, boom, the movie just picks up from that 40-minute mark, and it doesn't let up till you get to the very end where Godzilla kills Ghidorah and ends the fight. So yeah, the first 40 minutes, very, very slow, just can be very slow and very arduous at times. But once that 40-minute mark hits and King Ghidorah gets awakened from his Antarctica icebox, it's just all out chaos, and yeah, I enjoyed it. So yeah, that stuff's great. Now before I wrap this up, we do have some connection in this movie to the King Kong movies. Joe Morton makes an appearance as the character of Brooks. Now, if you remember, Brooks was played by Corey Hawkins in Kong Skull Island. Now we get to see an older version of Brooks, played by the grossly underappreciated and very underrated Joe Morton. And seeing what they do with Joe Morton in this movie, seeing what they did in Godzilla vs. Kong, why couldn't the character of Brooks take over the role of Serizawa since you killed him off? Like, why? Now, I mean, Brooks, if you're going to kill off Serizawa, at least have Brooks take over the mantle, because he's the most seasoned person in this on the Monarch side, who knows exactly what's going on between these monsters. Brooks survived Skull Island. He's seen the destruction of what these creatures can do, and he has a nice scene where he sees Mothra, pretty much have her rebirth in a way. Brooks could easily take over the Serizawa role as the lead scientist. Hell, we got denied screen time between Brooks and Serizawa. That would have been cool, to see that. But at least we get that Kong connective tissue, and they do make some references to Skull Island. They also make a reference to the Hollow Earth theory, which was established in Skull Island, and of course, it's the Hollow Earth is where Godzilla makes his home, which is beneath the ocean floor, and that's where Godzilla pretty much makes his home, where he's recuperating by trying to eat up radiation. Now, since he's too badly weakened, that's where Serizawa's sacrifice comes in, where he literally turns Godzilla into a walking nuclear bomb, which is a nice little reference to the old Japanese Godzilla movies, where one of them, Godzilla was literally a walking bomb, that once he explodes, everything around him is going to go down with him. So I like that we get a little bit of a reference to that. So yeah, that was cool. Okay, I think I covered everything there is to cover with Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. I like it a lot. It's so much fun. It's what I wanted from that 2014 movie. Is this movie perfect? No, it's not. Is it a vast improvement over what came before it? Absolutely. This is what the 2014 movie should have been, which is just nonstop, balls to the wall, monster action with human characters that don't eat up the majority of the story. They have enough personality where you can like them, but their storyline is like secondary to what really matters, which is Godzilla wrecking shit up with the other monsters. And I love the ending where after Godzilla King kills Ghidorah and all the monsters bow to the true king, and you also get a post-credit scene with the character of Jonah pretty much selling a severed head of Ghidorah to the black market. So yeah, with all that being said, Godzilla King of the Monsters, for me, gets a solid... I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I overall really enjoy this movie, and I like it a lot. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for Godzilla King of the Monsters. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.